God, I missed Walt. I talked to him yesterday. I just want to publicly congratulate him for our cross-country championship. Championships aren't easy to win, so I decided that's a good way to start out this week, hopefully for all our sports. But, I'm excited about the Champions Classic. I mean, there's no question some injuries have made it a little more difficult in some ways, but at the same time, what a great way to start the season. For us, for our players, for our university program, for everything. Being in this event, as I said, is great for all of us. When you look at the top 4 teams in the AP poll, I think it's happened one time, according to my stat guys, back in 2008. They had 4 teams in there, and that was at the Final Four. And Champions Classic had the top 4 teams in the coaches poll in 17. And so it's not something that happens very often. We've got, whether anybody's deserving of being there or not, I talked to Cal, and he's questioning all the fact that he's young. I told him he's the oldest team I've seen Kentucky have in 10 years. They start supposedly maybe 2 freshmen, a 5th-year senior, and 2 second-year seniors, because if you're in Kentucky more than a year, you're classified as a senior, not a sophomore. On us, we had a great week of practice. About 3 of the 4 days were really good. Cash and Xavier know what's expected of them, and Aaron is constantly progressing. It's the other guys that are going to be important. I think those guys are going to know what it takes. But for all the talk about experience, we have some. But we also, are going to start 1 freshman probably. We could have started 2 freshmen maybe. We're going to be playing some sophomores that didn't have a lot of experience. And hopefully Kyle Arns, he's been progressing in practice. Will definitely be able to play. But we're going to rely on our own set of freshmen ourselves. As far as scouting Kentucky, and the beat goes on. Very talented team filled with a lot of McDonald's All-Americans. But the experience from last year with Higgins and Montgomery, 2 good players, very good players. I think it's Corley kid is supposed to be their most improved player from last year. He is the best shooter on the team. I think in Higgins it'll be an interesting matchup because even though he scored points and he has assists, they say he's the best defensive player maybe in the whole league. Montgomery is, a strong kid. He started 9 of the last 11 games last year. So that's a lot of experience for Kentucky. And Sestina, when you watch him on film, has had a body transformation since when we played him when he was at Bucknell. But he played very good in both their openers. He's a guy that's a stretch 4. He can shoot the ball. And I recruited, of course, Tyrese Maxey, who I think is one of the best guards that I had seen. He's steady, he's solid, he can do a lot of things. He's got size, he's got strength. He can shoot the ball, and yet he's athletic. Khalil Whitney, if he starts, he was the other guy. Other freshman who they had in the starting lineup on their last game. And he's a kid who is very, very athletic, maybe the best athlete, kind of like an Aaron Harris for us. So they've got enough weapons that they definitely don't need anybody to feel sorry for them, and I don't think we need anybody feeling sorry for us. It's just the adjustments we make now without Josh, and how fast we pick up on that. Questions?
Coach in the back right here, actually 2 questions. First of all is, do you like jumping into the fire like this against a team like Kentucky, or would you prefer sort of a lead-up into something like this?
If Josh was here, I think I'd like it, because then I think the advantage goes to us a little bit this early in the year. Usually when you play in this event, seems like Kentucky and Duke for sure have had a lot of young guys, although they're both getting a lot older than they were for the past last 3 or 4 years. I talked to John about it the other day. Even though I love the fact that it started out college basketball, now everybody's jumped on and everybody's starting the same night. For 1 year, it was like we were like the only thing that started it. It would be nice to have a couple games under your belt to see where you are, especially in our situation this year. And in fairness, Kentucky and Duke's most years. But at the same time, there's just something about getting ready for this where you can kind of talk about it all summer, and everybody knows that not only are you playing Kentucky, not only is it 1 against 2, whether either one of us are there right now, but maybe more importantly for the kids, go to New York, play in Madison Square Garden, where everybody says is the mecca of basketball. So, you know what? I think it's all great. I really do.
And the second part is, how much stock do you take in the results of this game? Is it one of those things where you take a lot, or is it, hey, it's still early in the season, there's a lot to go here?
Well, if we win, I'll take a lot of stock, and if we lose, I'll take no stock, personally. But either way, I'll take no stock. I mean, all it's going to do, the stock I'll take in it is it's going to help give us an idea of where we are and who's gotten a little better, who needs a lot more work, all those kind of things. I've always said it's great because if you think you're better than you are, you usually get it knocked out of you. It's great because if you're questioning your team and you play good, you feel a little better. If you play bad, you already know what some of your problems are, and now you get a chance to maybe not only tell the players, but they get a chance to have found out for themselves. And that usually, so to me, it's all good. The whole thing's good. It's just, I don't know if it's ever good for your fan base, because if 2 teams are going to lose, and 4 fan bases are going to think those teams should never lose. So then we have to deal with that. And if you win, you'll get anointed something that really doesn't matter in March and April anyway. So I just think it's good. It's good for college basketball. It's good for our program, and it's good for my players. So it's a good deal.
Tom, last year you were the only one of the 4 to make it to the Final Four, and yet you lost in that Champions Classic game. Does that kind of give you perspective that, as excited as you are, this isn't going to make or break the season?
Yeah, I think we all have perspective, all the coaches. Last year, Kentucky got to the Elite Eight and really should have beat Auburn, in my opinion. And they got beat, 118 to 20? I guess it wasn't quite that bad, but I think Duke pummeled them last year. And so, I've been in it long enough where I have perspective on that. And I'm not looking at it as a win makes you a Final Four team or a loss makes you, a 6th place in the league team. It gives you a good barometer where you are. It gives you something to play for. And what I'm most worried about with my team, now that we got a little younger here in the last couple of weeks, is are we going to get better every day? And that's what's really going to determine our season.
A little 2-part thing with 2 different guys that you need to kind of figure out what's going on with. First of all, with Joey, have you heard anything yet, and what is the expectation on that?
The expectation is we are appealing the appeal, which, again, it sounds crazy because everybody just shouldn't be over with. As much as you guys would, because your readers want to know, I would, because I got to answer to you guys to answer to your readers. So he will not play tomorrow. I know that for a fact, and I'm hoping that by the end of this week we'll have our final answer one way or another. I think there's been some parts of the appeal, there's some things that have happened nationwide recently, just yesterday, kid from Kentucky at Washington. I mean, it's about where it's at.
Then the second part of that was with Kyle. And I know that the ankle was a little bit of an issue. How do you plan to manage him both with that right now and then with the back moving forward?
Yeah, what I'm going to try to manage it, but it isn't going to be a load management thing where I'm going to manage it by talking to Kyle, how he feels and how he plays. But he had a hell of a summer. I mean, he was really, really, really good. And if you saw the accident or the injury, the way it happened, it was running out of bounds. I mean, nobody hear him, you know, I mean, we have weird injuries, you know, he runs out of bounds. The other day, Kithier's running down the court and kind of, Julius kind of half fell and came up with his elbow and hit him in the nose, broke his nose, you know. I wish all those injuries would happen to me, not my players, and I'd feel a little better, but I'm not going to sit there and worry. It is what it is. I've watched football go through so many injuries in the last 2 years. I've watched other teams go through injuries. I'm not practicing different. I mean, we're going to use our head on what we got to do, but I'm really going to use the player and the trainers on what I do.
Tom, two-part. First of all, you think the same starting lineup that you had against Albion, or is there going to be some change with Kit and Rocket?
No, with Kithier. Oh, Kithier. No, I expect Rocket for sure to start. The Kithier one, I think he'll start, but you know, we have looked at both Marcus and Malik, and I think all those guys will be rotating in there. But yeah, we're starting Rocket, and I mean, I've been really pleased with how he's done. I've been really pleased with how he's practiced, and yet at the same time, you know, he had the least amount of time here because he got here 6 weeks later. But I've really enjoyed his competitiveness and how fast he's picked things up. So that's a positive. It's just you look at him being a first-year guy and Josh being a fourth-year starter, and yet I need him to do the same thing. I need him to score, and I need him to be one of our best defensive players, because that's what Josh was. So that's what we'll be looking for.
Secondly, every year we've sat here and you've bemoaned not having more practice. This year you got a lot more. So now that you've done it, which do you prefer? The old way where you didn't get as much, or this way where you just beat each other up?
Well, you know what's happened, Hondo, is they've done double duty on this one, because they gave us 2 more hours a week in the summer. And then they, I don't know, we started on Labor Day, or was it 2 days after? It seems like we've been practicing as longer than football. I mean, it's been good. It's been good. We've got some things done. We did, I wouldn't say we load management. We team that a little bit. We went 2 days off, a day, 2 days. You know, we tried to spread it out a little bit and get those days in. But I mean, for the most part, I think our guys they're not stale. They're feeling good about, you know, what we got to do. It is a long season. I guess I've always known it's a long season, but I think for some reason this year you look at it, and maybe because we started so early, you said, do we end earlier? You know, like it's like starting school earlier, you end earlier? The answer is no, you don't. So basketball's getting to be a 6-month season of actual practice and games, where at one time it was more of a 5 or 4.5 month season.
As you prepare to go into Madison Square Garden tomorrow, just kind of curious as to how your younger guys, how they've been approaching practice this week, and if they've asked you any things in regards to what it's like, or what it's going to be like to play in a venue like that, and if you're worried that they're going to get in there and their eyes are going to pop.
You know what? I hope I get in there and their eyes pop. I really do. I think the problem we have right now is these kids have so many things with their AU, and you know, I had to tell them yesterday, this is a privilege, this is an experience, this is a memory of a lifetime. I went around, Dane, did you ever play Madison Square? No. DJ, did you ever play there? No. Doug, did you ever play there? No. You know, I asked my one GA from Central Michigan, and I said, Chris, you ever? No. You know, I said, it is a happening, it is still one of the places that every pro says is one of their favorite arenas. But sometimes I think these guys just, you know, everything goes. So I hope they are nervous. I really do. And I hope they are excited. That's the privilege you get of playing a schedule like this, or you could have gone to a million schools that never play these kind of games. So I'm not worried about it. I don't know the answer. You know, I don't know what Rocket will do. You know, a month ago he thought he'd be the backup to Josh and somebody else, and now he's going to start, you know, 3 weeks later, and I think he's tough enough to handle it, but what he'll do, I don't know, but John's got a couple of those kind of guys too, you know, what are they gonna do, who knows? I just hope they don't do what those two freshmen, I hope his kids don't do what the two freshmen did last year at Kansas. They made more threes than they made the next month. And I hope my guys maybe make some threes this time.
Hey Tom, Kentucky with their length on defense and the pressure in the half court, is that something that you're eager to see how your guys, the new backcourt and so forth, how they...
Yeah, you know, I think Cassius is really ready for that, and then yet they say Higgins this is his claim to fame, you know, that he's a very good defensive player, and I'm sure that's the challenge he'll make, but I think Cassius' added strength is really going to make a difference now, and Rocket is quick enough to do some things, and Foster's going to have to see how he handles that kind of pressure. But, you know, a lot of games you go into thinking there's going to be all kinds of pressure, and it subsides down, you know, like they say in all sports, the first 5 minutes is when you get the jitters out, everybody's playing it a certain way, and then usually it settles down into what both teams have done most of their careers, and I think for John and I don't think that'll change much. I think they will. I think they'll start 3 guards, but you don't know, and I don't know if it really matters that much anymore, the way it is, and everybody's positionless anyway.
Tom, with current injuries right now, how confident are you in your depth after maybe the top 6 or so? Obviously, Kyle and Josh are out, but after that, you got a guy like Gabe Brown coming off the bench. After him, how confident are you in some of the younger guys to kind of step in for the role?
You know, I'm not as confident as I would have been, you know, with other people in there that had the experience, and some of that depends on Kyle, and definitely Josh we know won't be there, but I mean, I think Gabe has made a lot of great progress, and I thought at the beginning of the year we'd be 10 deep at least, and now maybe, you know, we still could be 10 deep, but it could be, some of those positions could be by, you know, 10, 12 minutes in a game for some of those guys. So that's what these games are for now. That's what you're going to find out. That's what I'm going to see. You're going to see it. The disadvantage for a player is he doesn't get a chance to warm up. I mean, he is thrown into the fire. The advantage for a player is he'll get to measure up to where he's at and what he's got to improve on, or what he's already pretty good at. And I think either way it's going to be a benefit.
Anything else at the podium, or we got time for a little round table before the players come in?
Yay.